So I was sitting in a movie theater in the mid 1980s watching a new movie that had just come out called The Karate Kid. And I sat there and I watched on screen the relationship that Daniel-san had with Mr. Miyagi. And it connected with me on different levels, many different levels. First of all, right off the top, I had been studying karate. I was always interested in the whole Bruce Lee thing, the mystique of that. It always intrigued me. I was always interested in that since as long as I can remember, going back to the 70s. And as I sat there, as a teenager sitting in that seat in that movie theater, as a kid from Wasilla, with nothing. I was a kid with no family, no direction. I didn't know what my future looked like. I had no idea. And then I watched that movie. And I saw something that I'd never really seen before. I saw a boy with nothing who became something, standing on that podium. And I thought to myself, well, maybe that could be me. Maybe that could be me. Yeah. So I watched Daniel as his character, getting bullied and stuff like that, and eventually standing on that podium. And, I think back about that time, for most kids, it was just a movie. But for me, it was real life. It was somewhat of a blueprint. I understood what it meant to be bullied. But in my case, I was more so bullied by my circumstances. That was really the reason, why it resonated with me. So it did, it resonated with me. His character, he had moved from one place to, one state or town to another place. And he was frustrated by that. He was getting bullied. And I remember one key scene in that movie that really struck me. There were a lot of scenes that struck me, but there was one particular scene that really hit me hard. And that was the scene where after Daniel, he had gotten picked on and bullied and beat up several times. And it was one of the times when he got beat up and he went back home, and I think he threw his bike in the trash can and kicked it and was just really upset and crying. And I remember him saying to his mother when he got back home, "Why can't we just go back home? Why can't we just go back home?" Yeah. That really hit me because that's all I wanted. So I connected with that in his character. All I wanted to do was go back home, have a home, go back home. I didn't have that, and neither did Daniel in a sense. Yes, he had his mom and he lived with his mom, but he was being picked on. He was in a new place. He was having a hard time making friends. Felt like he didn't belong, those sorts of things. I connected with a lot of that stuff on different levels. And it resonated with me, It wasn't just a movie to me. It was kind of, in a sense, my real life, in a sense. I wanted to go back home. I understood that. But there was also the karate connection, too. I was always interested in karate. And, of course, Daniel meets Mr. Miyagi, starts to learn karate. Mr. Miyagi takes Daniel under his wing. And as you know, if you've been watching my videos, Todd and I were studying karate. And we're just, again, just two teenagers in Wasilla in the mid-80s. But we had a dream. And my situation, personally, everything changed, with myself, But this time, Todd and I were living together. We had our own place. We had an apartment. And his parents had a foreign exchange student from Turkey, and we would go to meetings and meet other foreign exchange students. One of those was a girl from Japan, one of those foreign exchange students. Her name was Coco, and Todd liked her. He was smitten with her and all that stuff. He was taken by her, and he really, he just really kind of fell in love with her. By this time, the second Karate Kid movie had come out, the one where Daniel goes to Japan. So all this was kind of tying together. It was all kind of coming together, culminating, you know. People say the perfect storm, all the dots were connecting. Well, they kind of were in a sense, and I was along for the ride. So Todd and I, we thought, well, okay, let's do this. Let's, you know, we love karate. We love the Karate Kid movies. Let's find a way to go over to Japan. And obviously, the only way that was going to happen was if we were going to save money. So we started cutting wood, washing windows, doing whatever we could to save money to go over to Japan and live that dream. And that was really the key, because I went from being a survivalist, essentially, all the years previous. I went from being a kid who was just trying to survive to somebody who had a real dream and somebody I could share it with, my friend Todd. So that was a special time, moving out of the apartment, from the car to the apartment, to moving in with Todd, and then having this, you know, dream in mind to go to Japan, study karate, have that whole dream, you know, maybe start a life over there. We didn't know. We knew we had certain things we wanted to do. We weren't sure how we were going to get there. We know we needed money, so that's why we started, you know, working, cutting wood, washing windows. You know, Todd worked at his parents' restaurant, did whatever we could do. But the whole life looked different from the one that I had, and that was something I wanted. So the movie resonated on so many different levels. It gave me a sense of direction, I guess, in a sense. I now kind of knew what I wanted to do, and it gave me a dream, something to shoot for out there. And that you know, that meant something to me personally. But all these decades later, I still think about, you know, Daniel saying, why can't we just go home? Why can't we just go back home? That's all I wanted, you know. But this was a new direction for me at this point. I had something that inspired me, something that moved me personally, something that kind of, like I said, it gave me direction. So that's what we pursued. We started to pursue this Japan dream, going to Japan, studying karate, doing all these different things. So we did that, and some things happened during the course of all this that impacted my ability and Todd's ability to go to Japan. Yes, there was something that happened, an event that happened, and that'll be on the next video. So you're going to want to come back and watch that one and see what happened. I really, really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my other videos up here. If you haven't seen those, the one in this sequence that I've been filming about my young life, living in Alaska alone in a car, homeless apartment in the mid-'80s in a small town of Wasilla, Alaska, so long ago. So if you haven't seen those, you can check those out. Again, one more time, thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you real soon.